So we need to ask ourselves, what do I bring to the conversation? What is my approach to the immigrant student? Because when I, as an educator, believe that my immigrant students add value to my school community, if I perceive them as assets, I will then give them the opportunity to contribute, to be assets, to share their gifts, and enrich the whole classroom. In order to bring out the strengths of each student and work effectively with their families, as many of you commented actually during Dr. Tumala Nara's presentation, we need to recognize how assumptions and stereotypes can impact our interactions. In order to be invisible facilitators, as Sarah Lynn will mention in her opening module tomorrow, we need to be aware of how our assumptions and our approach can shape our relationships with our students. So why self-reflection? Self-reflection helps us be aware of our assumptions, our perspective, not necessarily to overthrow these beliefs and values, but rather to assess their impact on our work. It helps us realize that our assumptions belong to a specific context and put things into perspective. Self-reflection helps us develop alternative ways of thinking in order to find better ways of doing things. And this is really what is meant by thinking outside the box. It makes us question existing patterns of behavior and interaction and challenge taken for granted assumptions. As Denzel Mohammed has shown in his opening presentation, the ILC Public Education Institute offers an asset-based framework that highlights immigrant contributions to the U.S. in order to inform a narrative around immigration where immigrants are assets for the whole country. And it interweaves credible data and proven facts with personal stories in order to offer a different perspective, an alternative to a deficit-based narrative. Tara Yosso's community cultural wealth model analyzes the community cultural wealth that students of color bring to schools. Tara Yosso is an associate professor in the Department of Chicana and Chicano Studies at the University of California, Santa Barbara. For community cultural wealth, she refers to specific skills and abilities and knowledge of a certain community. In her model, the various forms of capital include aspirational, navigational, social, linguistic, familial, and resistant capitals. We adapted her model to capture the talents, strengths, and experiences that immigrant students bring from their homes and communities to their school communities, to offer an asset-based framework to identify students' assets instead of focusing on their needs and deficits. Our adaptation of Yosso's model focuses on assets. You can find many examples of deficit-based narratives for each of these dimensions. Think of immigrant students, they're not interested, they have no aspirations. Their families are not really interested in education for their children. Immigrants are not really interested in engaging with their local communities. They don't speak the language, meaning English. They don't want to adapt, to acculturate. But we want to focus on the assets in order to challenge the deficit-based narrative by thinking outside the box with an asset-based perspective and find better ways to do things in and out of the classroom. So in our adapted model, we provide examples of assets for each dimension. Aspirations refer to the ability to maintain dreams and hopes for the future. It's even in the face of real or perceived barriers. It's a form of optimism. It's a form of resilience common to many immigrant stories, centered on a culture of possibility. Linguistic assets reflect the idea that immigrant students have multiple language and communication skills. Family assets refer to cultural knowledge and values nurtured in the extended family that carry a sense of community, history, memory. Extended family provides examples of caring, coping, providing, and really informs the moral and the community sense. Social assets are networks of people and community resources that provide emotional and instrumental support to navigate everyday life. It's usually central, believe me, to navigate the new country's institutions. Navigational assets refer to skills who help maneuver through social institutions, especially when these institutions were not created with immigrants in general in mind. They usually include resilience, inner resources, social competences, and cultural strategies that not only help survive or cope, but also make thrive and succeed even further. And finally, resistance assets. They refer to knowledge and skills. They usually bring about positive change for the wider society. In resisting stereotypes or challenging stereotypes and inequalities, immigrants often offer a model for other underrepresented groups. Now that you've heard our asset-based model, it's time for self-reflection. So let's try to identify our immigrant student assets, listening to their stories. First, we will listen to May's story and individually reflect on what assets, what kind of capital she brings to her school community. First of all, we need pen and a piece of paper. So you have 30 seconds to grab pen and paper for an individual exercise. While you listen to May's story, jot down on a piece of paper what she brings to her school community in terms of aspirations, language, family, social network, resilience, and success. Take 5 minutes really for that. After you do that, after completing your individual reflection, please join your small group, entering the related chat room. There are 2 K-12 groups and 2 adult education groups divided by the initial of your first name. Joe is now pasting the link to the group assignments into the chat box on the left-hand side of the screen. So once you do that, once you do the small group discussion, please reopen the webinar window to conclude the module. In case you have accidentally closed the window, just re-enter the webinar using the link www.anymeeting.com/DILC1. So I'll see you again here in around 14 minutes. Thank you.